Over a century after the Doomed destroyed their homeland of Valyria, House Targaryen invaded the continent of Westeros and conquered 6 of the 7 kingdoms, establishing a dynasty that lasted nearly 300 years. In possession of the only dragons known to exist, Aegon and his sister wives seemed unstoppable until they reached the deserts of Dorne, where the harsh terrain, coupled with the unwavering determination of the population, allowed them to resist and ultimately defeat the invaders. Unwilling to accept their defiance, King Aegon launched the First Dornish War in 4 AC, a conflict so devastating it led to the death of Queen Rhaenys, the dragon Meraxes, a great number of lords, as well as thousands of soldiers and common folk. But in the end, Dorne could not be defeated, and King Aegon signed a peace treaty he honored for the rest of his life. Though Dorne was victorious, it came at a terrible cost, with nearly every town, castle, and village ravaged by dragonfire, while much of the population was slaughtered or left destitute. A proud, hot-tempered people, the Dornish longed for vengeance against all those who stood with House Targaryen, yet their leader, Princess Daria Martell, was on relatively good terms with Aegon Targaryen, even inviting the king and his heir to a feast of friendship in 23 AC. However, the respect earned by Aegon the Conqueror was not enough to protect his son Aenys Targaryen, a good-natured but indecisive and weak-willed ruler who saw 4 rebellions erupt across the continent when he took the throne. The largest threat came from the Red Mountains of Dorne, where an outlaw known only as the Vulture King raised a massive army of 30,000 smallfolk to attack the Reach and Stormlands in retaliation for the losses inflicted in the First Dornish War. Though the identity of this man was never discovered, some speculate he may have hailed from House Blackmont, as their sigil depicts a vulture. But in any case, the Vulture King began what many called the Second Dornish War, growing his numbers as many knights, spearmen, and even some lords joined the cause. Officially, Princess Daria Martell denounced the rebels, but some believed House Martell supported them in secret. Scoring a number of early victories, their most notable success came when they burned the castle Blackhaven, with the Vulture King personally cutting off the nose of Lord Harmon Dondarrion. With little help coming from the anxious King Aenys, who abhorred violence, the houses near the Dornish border, called the Marcher Lords, were largely left on their own. Facing far smaller armies lacking support from the crown, the Vulture King might have done much more damage during his campaign, if not for the fatal mistake of dividing his forces so he might attack 2 targets at once. In the Stormlands, Lord Walter Will led half the rebel army to take Stonehelm, only to suffer defeat and capture by the armies of Lord Orys Baratheon of Storm's End. This was an especially satisfying victory for Orys, as he was defeated and lost a hand to Walter's father, the famous Will of Will, during the First Dornish War. In retaliation, he cut off Walter's hands and feet. Orys suffered wounds in the battle and died on his way back to Storm's End, but all say he died smiling, eyes fixed on the rotten hands and feet dangling in his tent. The Vulture King led the rest of his men against Nightsong, but were met by Lord Harmon Dondarrion, Lady Ellen Caron, and Lord Samwell Tarly, who forced them into retreat. With the rebel armies shattered, the Marcher Lords began the Vulture Hunt, eliminating the last remnants of enemy forces, until finally capturing their infamous leader. Savage Sam Tarly carried out the execution by tying the naked Vulture King between 2 posts to die of dehydration and exposure. However, the singers gave him a more poetic fate, claiming he was eaten by vultures. To reward their service to the realm, Davos Baratheon, son of Orys, Harmon Dondarrion, Ellen Caron, and Savage Sam Tarly were awarded gold, land, and titles by the king. Yet they could not erase the Vulture King's legend, as he became a famous folk hero, with songs and tales of his adventures told across Dorne and beyond. He even inspired future outlaws and warlords to adopt his title and continue the legacy of his rebellion.